The name's Bond, James Bond. He, him, an LGBTQIA plus ally. At least that's what the progressives constantly want to happen to the character. And because the conversation of Bond has once again arisen its head, that's exactly where they go back to. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Amazon are desperate to try and get something going with James Bond, but they find themselves in a little bit of a hole. Why? Well, because James Bond is a masculine, straight, white male, and that seems to be going against all the ideologies of the entertainment industry right now. They'd rather have him femmy, subservient, hopefully gay, and a different color. Hell, even in the last Bond film, they decided to change 007 into a black female played by Lasagna Lynch. And they made Daniel Craig ride bitch on the back of her bike because, of course, he was second fiddle as a straight white man. And they ended up just killing the character off at the end of the film, rounding off his tenure as Bond. So how do you bring Bond back from the dead? Well, if you are a progressive, then the only thing that you need to do is superficially change them. Change their color, change their gender, change their sexuality. And the scoopers, and by scooper, I of course mean people that make shit up for a living. So once again, we have this tired old argument. So this comes from comicbookmovie.com, rumour. Because if you say the word rumour, it's a lot better than saying stuff like made up piece of shit or lying to try and get money because my article's hidden behind a paywall. The word rumour seems to sit a little bit better. Aaron Pierce is being considered for the role of James Bond in the next 007 movie. Now, first and foremost, I think this is bollocks. I think this is 100% utter bollocks. It's just scooper trash from somebody that doesn't even have much of a following either. But they probably sit and have lunch with somebody that delivered coffee to somebody in a building somewhere, and they said, I think they might be considering Aaron Pierce for Bond. Well, that's as good as facts for me. Take it with a pinch of salt, because if I can get one scoop right every 4 years, I can just go, look, my sources were correct. Yeah, tomato and fucking mustard, mate. That's the only source that you're going to get correct. So I don't actually think that this is legitimate in any capacity, but it does bring up a very interesting conversation. I've got nothing against Aaron Pierce. I hope he does well as Jon Stewart in the Green Lantern TV show. No, this is about progressivism. Progressivism in the entertainment industry and where they want to take it. James Bond is a British institution, and you might have got from my accent that I may actually be British, which I am. And so characters like James Bond and our myths and our heroes tend to mean a fair bit to us. So Aaron Pierce, I wish him all the best of luck, but I don't think that he actually is involved in this conversation. I think it's the sickness that whenever a main character comes up in conversation, there's a new movie being discussed, a new TV show being discussed, a new comic maybe run being discussed, progressives come along with their most regressive takes. The character's white, straight, and male. How do we change that? Well, we make him gay, we make him black, we make him a woman, we make him brown, etc., etc. Bond is now going to be, unfortunately, the next target of these regressive pieces of shit. And this hasn't been going on for a short amount of time. This has been going on for a long time. When Daniel Craig had finished Skyfall, I think it was, he didn't want to do another Bond movie again. In actual fact, he was quite adamant that this is the last time he ever wants to do anything like this at all. It was a huge undertaking, a huge amount of time, effort, energy, and all that was sunk into that role, as well as everything that surrounded it, the ethos, of course, of James Bond, and it was very draining on him. And when you're a British character and you want to blackface them, then the first name that you go to is Idris Elba. Idris Elba would be great for this. Idris Elba would be great for that. Essentially, they just wanted Idris Elba to take over any white character that potentially existed. Is Idris Elba a good actor? Yeah, I think the guy's a great actor. Would he be a good James Bond? Well, that's a different kettle of fish altogether, because Bond isn't black. And if you make Bond black, particularly in the era that Bond was created and the whole surrounding elements of that, Cold War, etc., then him being black would take on a whole new meaning. Back in 2023, in this Variety interview, Idris Elba got turned off from playing James Bond when it became about race. It made the whole thing disgusting and off-putting. Now, of course, the irony is it's always the progressives that want to do this. It's not like you want to take on a role and they're just like, let's just line up who we think would be the best point of target for this. Because Idris Elba right now is 52 years of age. And let's take off 5 years, for example, and say there was a more meaningful discussion about the next James Bond 5 years ago. Daniel Craig about to embark on his last Bond movie and the franchise needing to progress after that, even though they fucking killed him. So Idris Elba gets brought into the equation at 47 years of age. Now, does he look good? Yeah, he looks all right. He looks great for 47 years of age. That photo taken quite a few years ago. But you want to build a franchise, get 4, 5 films from a guy starting at 47. Never mind the fact that everybody else that would be surrounding that, love interests, etc., would have to be age appropriate. But when Daniel Craig was retiring, he was pretty much the same age as Idris Elba would be taking over. So to say Idris Elba in that equation would just be the safest move that you could even ever get when it came to trying to blackface your James Bond. So let's just take that out of the equation for the time being and add another element in and say, well, the next James Bond needs to encapsulate that Britishness, because that, after all, is one thing which sets James Bond apart from multiple different spies in multiple different franchises. His James Bond 007 License to Kill is quintessentially English. And sorry, I have no idea what's going on here. I think I've got some technical issues. Sorry, I'll carry on. But there again, I wouldn't say that actors are the sharpest knives in the block. I mean, if they could only dull them some way, then that would just absolutely stop knife crime. Didn't you know that? You just have to dull the pointy bit of a knife, and then nobody would ever go around stabbing anyone ever again, because they'd be like, how can I stab people with a knife if the knife is blunt? I guess we can't stab anyone with anything ever again. Oh my goodness me, I'm such a law-abiding person. I wouldn't ever think of finding any workarounds for that. Also, James Bond is a highly intelligent man as well. Look, this happens every time. We have a Amazon that can't even make a Lara Croft show. Why? Well, because if they made Lara Croft how Lara Croft should be, she would be sexy and seductive and busty just as well, FYI. But she would be self-serving, and she would be a tomb raider. She wouldn't be an ally. She wouldn't be, I take these to return them back to where they should belong. No, she's an anti-hero. So they couldn't even do that because it wouldn't be, they couldn't get that feminist message out there. And it's the same with Bond. They're going to trip over themselves left, right, and center. There's going to be conversations about Black Bond or Brown Bond or Gay Bond or whatever it may be in an effort to try and put him on. But at the same time, we got to hit those progressive elements. Otherwise, we might get canceled. They create their own rules and they themselves are trapped by them. The best thing for Amazon to do would be to make a James Bond film set in the 1960s at the height of the Cold War, where things were very different, and let your spy go wild. You would be amazed at probably how much people would gravitate towards that and how much they would love that. But they won't, and they can't, because they must have women on parity or higher with men. The men must be belittled, particularly if they're straight and white. Sorry. We're going back to them handcuffing themselves with their own stupid rules. The next white character is being spoken about. Let's make them black and gay or something, I don't know, like maybe progressives. I'll see you in the next video. You take care. Bye for now.